Ugh, ow. Well, hello. Welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuff and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today is a Sunday Stuff and Things. And on this Sunday Stuff and Things, we have stuff and things to talk about, including upcoming videos, things that you can look forward to on Stuff and Things YouTube and Stuff and Things Patreon. We're going to talk about the most boring hobbies. And is the pipe hobby the most boring hobby to tell other people about if they are not into that hobby? So this question was raised in one of the comments the other day, and I think it's kind of interesting because I'm into quite a few things, quite a few different hobbies, photography being kind of the main one right now. And when you're trying to tell someone else about the hobby, if they are not into that thing, which hobby is the most boring? And I think it might be pipes. I think it might be the one. And then we are also going to talk about my Nicks Pullmans. After over a year, I've had these for 14 months now. They're amazing. They're probably my favorite piece of footwear that I have ever owned in my entire life. They fit me like a glove, or like a boot, I guess. And I just recorded a video. It's going to be the 1-year update on my custom Nicks Pullmans. We'll talk a little bit more about that. We'll have your questions, comments, and feedback in hashtag askstuffandthings, and then we'll have our Patreon shout-outs and updates at the end of the episode. I really did something to my thumbnail just now. I folded it back on itself. Was that like bamboo shoots under the nail? Wow, that was painful. All right, stay tuned. As you can see, it is absolutely beautiful outside. Spring is officially here. Having said that, tomorrow is supposed to be rainy and like 50 degrees again, but we were in the mid 60s and sunny for most of the week, so that was a pleasant change from the usual. Things that you can look forward to. Upcoming videos on Stuff and Things YouTube and Stuff and Things Patreon. This coming week on YouTube, we will have my photo walk where I am photographing great blue herons. We are very lucky, we are very blessed around here. I live in the Pacific Northwest in Bellingham, Washington, and there are so many opportunities to photograph wildlife, and you don't really need to go very far. There's a place right in town in Bellingham where great blue herons nest, and I was able to go and get some pictures there. So it's a fun video. You should check that out this week. Obviously, that's on Patreon as well, but this video will also be shown on YouTube. The pipe stuff does not show on YouTube. The week after that, exclusive to Patreon, we will have the full review of McFadin Mixture Scottish Blend. The first impressions video posted last week on Patreon, and I was pretty negative in that first impressions video, but just so you know, I'm a little more positive in the full review. So stay tuned for that. And then the week after that on YouTube, also on Patreon, but on YouTube will be the Nicks Pullman's custom engineer boots. After 1 year of use. How far can I get my leg up? That's pretty good, huh? Not bad. That yoga helped me out. All right, so lots of good stuff to look forward to on Stuff and Things YouTube and Stuff and Things Patreon. All right, so I had a comment the other week from someone who I have no problem with this person because they watch my YouTube videos and they enjoy a lot of the stuff that I post on YouTube, but they made a comment on one of the pipe videos. I can't remember what it was. It was some old first impressions or something like that. Maybe all those are gone now. I can't remember, but it was a pipe video, and they were surprised because they hadn't really seen any of the pipe videos on my channel, because the way the YouTube algorithm works, they came in on a fountain pen video, they liked the fountain pen video, and then YouTube recommended other fountain pen videos or notebook videos or things to have to do with stationery and stuff that I have on my channel. And so they were just watching those videos, like, oh, this is great, love this stuff. Subscribed, and then they saw somehow, maybe they had just gone to my page or my actual like YouTube homepage and saw pipe stuff, and they watched one of the videos and they left a comment talking about how confused they were about it and how, as much as they enjoy my other content, they found this video to be one of the most boring things they had ever seen in their entire lives. And it got me thinking a little bit, because I enjoy quite a few different hobbies. I play guitar. I like to write. I like to sing. I really love photography. I'm into going on hikes. I like movies. All sorts of different things. I do videography. So many different things that I am into. And those things are all very interesting to me, obviously, because I am into those things. But when I think about friends, former girlfriends, people that I'm close to, when I am describing my various hobbies to those people, when do their eyes glaze over? When do they lose all interest? And I think it has to be pipes and the pipe hobby. Because most people, you know, even if they're not into actually taking photographs themselves, they might be interested in the photographs that you take. Like, oh, look, here's a picture of a great blue heron. Here's a picture of a interesting person on the street. Here's a beautiful composition of a landscape or something. Like, oh, I love that. I don't love taking pictures. I'm talking as the other person, but I enjoy the fruits of your hobby. Or if I'm talking about guitars, you know, I can show somebody my beautiful Fender Telecaster guitar, and even if they're not into guitars, they can appreciate the beauty of that guitar, and they might think it's cool that you know how to play guitar. I don't know how to play guitar amazingly well, but for someone who doesn't play guitar at all, they might still consider that kind of cool or interesting. I'm into reading about history, and even though not everyone is into history, most people will find an interesting historical fact in fact interesting. But when I start talking about pipes or pipe blends, they have absolutely no frame of reference for that whatsoever. I could show them a pipe that's, you know, from 1960 and that's worth hundreds of dollars, beautifully carved, and they might think, okay, as an object, as a curiosity, that thing is kind of cool. But when you start talking about different blends or the components in different blends or the characteristics of different kinds of genres of pipe blends, they're not interested. And I don't blame them for not being interested. And it's just funny for me to think about that, especially in regards to this YouTube channel. Now, obviously, a lot of the pipe stuff has to move away from the YouTube channel, or pretty much all of it has to move away from the YouTube channel and onto Patreon because of the demonetization. But it's interesting that there are so many people, because of the eclectic nature of the content that I put out on YouTube, there will be people who come in because of a guitar video or a photography video or a fountain pen video. And then when they see the pipe stuff, they always just seem completely nonplussed. Like, what is this? This is strange. And some people have actually found it interesting. So I'm not going to say it's universally boring to people who are not into pipes. Some people actually do think it's kind of cool. But I think out of all the hobbies that I am into, pipes are the one that most people who are not into pipes find the most boring. And I'd be curious to know if that has been your experience as well with friends, loved ones, wives, partners, whatever. And if not, is there another hobby you can think of that is more boring to other people who are not into that hobby than pipes? I'd be curious to hear. Ugh. Just a quick update. As I mentioned at the start of the show, I have just recorded a 1-year update on my Nicks Pullman's engineer boots. And just to give you a little preview, these are the boots now. Look at how they look. Is that a beautiful boot, or is that a beautiful boot? Now, after 14 months of pretty hard use, the wear on these is pretty minimal. They've broken in. They have softened, they have become a little more supple and everything, but they still look fantastic. There aren't any, you know, really deep creases. There's no danger of the leather cracking. Obviously, I take good care of them and everything, but I don't baby them. I walk around on these things all the time, mostly on hard concrete, pretty much all the time. There is some wear on the back of the heel. Apparently, I'm kind of a heel walker. I kind of wear the back of my heel down before any other part of the shoe. So I will have to replace just this rubber part of the V-bar heel at some point. I actually talked to a local cobbler about doing that, and they said they have the right V-bar soles or the heels and that they can do the kind of like little curved buffing or sanding that they do at Nicks for this logger heel. So I may trust them to do that, replace that eventually, but these boots are, they've exceeded my wildest expectations for how good these boots would be, and they better be good because they are freaking expensive. I didn't have to pay full price for them. I got a special deal from Nicks, and for that I feel privileged and very lucky. But, I mean, if you pay regular price for these, at the configuration that I did with these, they're close to $700. That's not cheap. But these are the most amazing things I have ever had on my feet. I think I'm going to have these for the rest of my life. And I think that's a pretty good value, actually. If you divide how many years I have left, which is hopefully quite a few, by how much these would cost, I think that's a pretty good deal. So yeah, I love my Nicks Pullmans, my custom Nicks Pullmans, and look forward to the 1-year update video coming up in a few weeks on Stuff and Things YouTube and Stuff and Things Patreon. All right, gang, but now it is time for hashtag #AskStuffandThings. Remember, if you have a question for me and you would like it answered on the Sunday Stuff and Things, you can tweet at SAT Bradley with the hashtag #AskStuffandThings. If you are a Patreon supporter, you can write to me via Patreon, go right to the front of the line. You can't hit that super thanks button under this video because it no longer exists because my channel has been demonetized by YouTube. But you can leave questions, comments, and feedback in the comment section of my YouTube videos. I go through all of them, I read all of them, and I'll pick out some to answer on Sunday Stuff and Things. We have some feedback from last week's Sunday Stuff and Things. This is Sunday Stuff and Things, yeah. This is from @NGC6144. So I was talking about things that I don't get, 2 of those things being gambling and Taylor Swift's popularity. They said, gambling and Taylor Swift? Yeah, I don't get it either. @Ledger and Lace said, I was talking about the cameras I use for my photography. My first digital camera was in 2003, I think. That was pretty early. I think I got my first one 96, 97, 98 maybe, around there. So it was a super early one. It was just a little like Canon point and shoot elf, I think. My first digital camera was in 2003. It was a gift, but I think it was $900. Wow, pretty expensive for back then. It had a big SD card that was an extra $65 and held 100 photos. It was 4 megapixels, 4. Even telling that around the dinner table with nieces and nephews blows their minds. Never mind talking about VCRs, only one phone glued to the kitchen wall, glued, and no caller ID, no voicemail, and definitely no text. And our math teacher told us we would never walk around with a calculator in our pockets. I mean, they had pocket calculators in the 70s, didn't they? I'm on the boomer Gen X cusp, or as the kids would say, cis boomer, but identify as Gen X. Ha ha ha. Yeah, I've talked about this before, how I am of the generation, I think, as I mentioned in last week's Sunday Stuff and Things, that I was born right on the cusp between Gen X and millennial. So I am of the perfect age to have had pretty much my entire childhood in the analog world and then my teen, young adult years in the digital world. So I am the perfect fusing of those 2 strange ways of life. But yeah, I remember analog phones. I remember caller ID. I remember long distance charges. Remember that? That sucked. We have @JohnBragg. Hello. We don't have a train, but we have a plane. It's like a little Cessna. Okay, we have @JohnBragg who says, the Nikon FE is such a good choice. I have an FE and an FE2. The FE2 is the one I use most. I have a Nikon FM2N, which I have owned from new. So the FM2 is kind of the it doesn't have any of the electronic aperture priority stuff that the FE2 does, which I've owned from new. Same body form with purely mechanical shutter. I love that it is not battery dependent. More film photography content would be awesome. Don't worry, there will definitely be more film photography content. Thanks for writing in. Corbin Bourbon 1194 says, I still watch SAT Plays playthroughs. I watch it the way people rewatch Friends or Seinfeld. Long live SAT Plays. P.S. I absolutely did look scoters up on my own. It's not a bird that we have in my area. LOL. Yeah, so I love the fact that people still watch SAT Plays. I will not take that channel down. I don't know if YouTube will eventually... I don't know what they do with channels that you haven't posted anything on, but I will have to post something on there eventually just to make sure it stays, I guess. But yeah, that's great that you still like those playthroughs. If you guys haven't watched SAT Plays, there's hundreds and hundreds of hours of content on there. And then scoters are these weird little ducky things. I went back and looked at that video. I'm wondering if those were actually golden eyes, though. I didn't look very closely at the birds. We have a lot of golden eyes. In fact, there's some out here right now. They're over there. There's a male, there's a female. They're pretty sea ducks, and they have golden eyes, hence the name. but I didn't look at those closely. We have Scoters too. All right, now we have some feedback from the First Impressions McFadin Mixture Scottish Blend. I put Scotch Blend on my notes here, but it is Scottish Blend, and this was a Patreon exclusive video, but we have some feedback from our Patreon patrons. This is from Travis S. Hobbs, who says, oral chemistry seems to play a big part. I've never experienced the much maligned McFadin tongue bite. I don't have the slightest idea what it is. Have you ever experienced tongue bite at all? Per Jensen emphasizes that MB blends are made to be est at a comparatively low temperature, so maybe that plays a part too. To me, Scottish mixture tastes and smells like apple butter, or apples with mulled spices, and golden extra, which is an ingredient in Scottish. Tastes like plain apple sauce. I love both. Looking forward to your final verdict. Yeah, a lot of people have mentioned like a buttery taste to Scottish mixture or Scottish blend. I definitely got kind of a grapey, I don't know, maybe appley as well. Definitely there was a fruity quality to it, but not like a creamy butter thing. It was very, there's a lot of nuance going on in that blend. It is an interesting blend, and definitely stay tuned for the full review. We have at Briar Scholar, or not at, this isn't YouTube. Briar Scholar just says, I know you said your opinion changed and you already recorded your final review, but I just thought I'd tell you what works for me. For aromatics, even lightly topped non-goopers, I need a pipe with a very large bowl, loosely packed and very gently and slowly sipped. I feel like these kinds of blends are made for those giant Nordic freehands. Once I figured out this combo, I started to be able to S arrows. Awesome video. Thanks for keeping this alive on Patreon. Yeah, you definitely do want to try to keep, there's some blends that I really like to blaze away on. Elizabethan is a good example of that, where you can get that pretty hot and pretty billowy, and it still is going to be pretty good, and I kind of like how that feels. But with a lot of arrows, especially if they have a lot of Cavendish or if they are of the gloopy variety, you do want to keep that as lightly burning as possible. Ellen Maxfield Nagel says, you're taking one for the team by finishing the tin, Bradley. Thanks for your review. And yeah, it's not as bad as I thought in the initial First Impressions video. Then we have Axel Dahlmark, who says, I recently acquired a pouch of the Scottish mixture myself, and I was very much expecting your dislike for it. To me, it does not really taste strongly of anything, like most of the aromatics I'm familiar with would do, but to me it does behave in a very similar way, which I expect is due to the topping casing as well as the Cavendish. Excuse me. Excuse me. I'm still not quite sure whether I like it or not, but you really do have to take it very slowly with the puffing. At the moment, I'm enjoying a lovely bowl of Squadron Leader in my Barry Freehand, or Bari Freehand. Greetings from Sweden. Greetings from the US. Thank you for the feedback. And then finally, Aaron H. says, thanks for being a mensch and suffering through this popular blend. I don't second guess your experience. It makes me wonder what fans of Scottish mixture do differently that allows them to enjoy the blend. Maybe it needs to be aged, needs to be dry, needs to be paired with a glass of single malt whiskey. Again, stay tuned for the full review. I'm not as negative as I was in the First Impressions video. But yeah, thanks for all that feedback on Patreon. Please keep it coming in. It really helps make the show go. All right, gang, but now it is time for the very best part of the show, and that is where we thank our Patreon supporters. Remember, if you would like to support the channel on Patreon, there is a link in the description box below, and it is much appreciated. As you are probably aware by now, YouTube has completely demonetized Stuff and Things because of the pipe content. And I cannot be part of the partner program anymore, so all the pipe stuff has to move from YouTube onto Patreon. Not ideal, but it is what it is, and we're having fun over on Patreon with our exclusive pipe videos, so if you want to support anything that we do, whether it be on YouTube, because now there is no longer any ad revenue, if you want to support the YouTube stuff, you can go to Patreon, and if you want the exclusive pipe stuff, you can go to Patreon. But every week, we shout out those who support our endeavor at $25 or more a month. The producers of Stuff and Things. People like Jason Buckner, Arcturus, Ashes of the Phoenix, Jonathon Proctor, The Friendly Piper, GreatGrol, Glenn, Just Glenn, Les Brady, David Severin, Nicholas James, Kyle Whitmore, Mr. Gibson, and Chris Caughey. And of course, the Maniacs, the crazy people who support the channel at $100 a month. People like Bob Magee and Ryan McFadin. And of course, we'll never forget our dearly departed friend and perpetual Hall of Fame member, Peter Straub. Gang, so much to look forward to on Stuff and Things YouTube and Stuff and Things Patreon. Please keep it tuned here, and keep it tuned on Patreon if you're a Patreon supporter. But until next time, until we meet again, I've been your good friend Bradley. You've been the audience. This has been Stuff and Things on a Sunday Stuff and Things. I'll see you later.